Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be looking at a study which I have created. It's an N equals 1. It's not well formed, not well tenured, not well powered, but it's something I've done off my own back just to help you guys. So I'm just going to go through it and it'll be fashioned in a way which should make sense hopefully. If you've got any questions, please put them below. So basically I'm trying to find out, are carbs good for exercise performance and body composition? So people start the carnivore diet that I've been doing for the past 3.5 years or so because for a few reasons. First, it's very simple. It eliminates the problematic foods. Some people use it for fat loss goals as well. Some people use it to improve their health. Some people just do it as an experiment just to see what happens. Some people are that crazy. And some people actually just find that they've met people online, maybe different communities, things like that, and they thought, oh, they've got these results, maybe I want some of that too. So that's why people do the carnivore diet. Now, the general consensus is, apparently, that carbohydrate intake is essential to optimize resistance training. So I want to identify if this was true. Now, the question that I'm going to raise here is, do exogenous carbohydrates yield an improvement in resistance training performance, body composition, and health markers? My hypothesis to this question was, no, everything will go to shit. So let's see. So as I said before, this is my N equals 1. So I previously had the idea that I'd be performing the study for 7 days straight. I had catastrophic results after day 1. So I thought, rather than go to 7 days, I'm going to do 3 days. At least give you guys a clear kind of transparent idea of what happened over that period of time. So, you know, it was going to be 7, now it's going to be 3. So the diet was changed immediately from day 1 and meal 1. So I didn't transition. The idea is you just go from the carnivore diet, pretty strict, 99 point, well, I'd say about 99% of macronutrient intake coming from animal food sources. Then it went to, of course, the next diet, which I'll outline. So I basically kept the protein as close to the same as I did prior to starting the diet. And I basically matched the energy substrate by caloric value, but I just switched out some of the fat with carbohydrate. Now, like I said, the previous diet was 3.5 years plus of a diet consisting primarily of foods from the animal kingdom. And I measured my body composition using Renpho bioimpedance scales, which I'll put below in the description. And I also used the Chronometer Android app to track food intake. My exercise performance was measured using a leg extension and a leg curl machine in my gym, the same one that I've been using beforehand, where I've tracked my lifts beforehand. We'll go into that in a second. So like I said, these are my before results, I guess. So these are my measurements that I had for 7 days prior to the experiments. This is my baseline, you might say. My weight was 112.3 kilos. Fat-free mass was 90.42 kilos. Body water was 58.1. Body fat was 19.5%. Bone mass was 4.52 kilos. Visceral fat rating 14. Now, my food intake measured using the Chronometer Android app. Again, a 7-day average was 3,308.7 calories. Protein intake was 230.2 grams. Carbohydrate was 46.7 grams. Fat was 245.8 grams. And average water intake was around about 2 liters. That was the water that I was consuming. For example, Pepsi Max, water, tea, coffee, milk, things like that. Actually, not including milk. Don't include that. But yeah, things that weren't energetically viable. Now, the average food weight that was consumed each day was 1.2 kilos. Exercise performance. So I've used 2 things here. So the leg extension, leg curl. Leg extension, I managed 8.5 reps at 100 kilos for 90 seconds of time under load. Leg curl was 6.5 reps, 117 kilos at 85 seconds of time under load. I thought it'd be useful to include some subjective markers as well. Just because it's something I can look at I know, guys, if I didn't include these, you'd then ask me. So if I've got it, you've got it then. This is basically everything I have here is the results I have. I don't have anything else to go by. Digestion was good. So meaning my time between meals was fine. I didn't feel stuffed or sick, Now my stools were firm, small, with no issues. TMI maybe, but you're going to ask. Mood was good. Overall, quite happy, quite content. Energy level has been less than average. Saying that, I think it comes down to my pain level at the moment, but for the most part over that week, it was less than average. And pain level, like I said, was 8 out of 10. 10 being you want to be sedated or put under, basically. 8's quite high, so you can imagine the pain I've been in. I've included some other notes and symptoms as well, just because. So overall happy, content, productive with periods of sleepiness, sometimes getting insufficient sleep. Now these are results, the measurements after 3 days. So, weight 113.7, fat-free mass 91.2. I'm going to go over this in the analysis section later, guys, but if you want to just look at this, pause the video, see what I've written down, but I'll go over this in a second so you can see the comparison. So pause the video. Okay, continue. All right, so I'm going to make this a bit bigger because I've made it small, just so you can't see, of course. So basically you got here on the left the before and after weights. So this was a real pain in the backside for me to create this table. I've not been creating tables for about 5 years now, so it's quite new to me. But yeah, basically my weight went up by 1.4 kilos. Interesting, because that kind of immediately debunks the calories in, calories out myth immediately. Fat-free mass also went up. So that's the bone mass, organ mass, and muscle mass combined. So my body is heavier. I've got more weight to my metabolically active tissue, you might say. Body water went up very slightly, but that's always pretty regular, to be fair. Body fat, now that went up by 0.3%, which was surprising because if you think about carbohydrates, they say something like 5 to 10% of the energy from that is oxidized through the thermic effect of food. Yet, in this case, no, my body fat went up. So my body had a surplus of mass within it. Very interesting. Bone mass went up very, very slightly, but that always goes up and down quite like that anyway. I'm not too concerned about that one. Visceral fat ratings. This is the fat within your viscera tissue. So the fat that is surrounding your organs. This went up by 1. Not ideal. Not a metabolically ideal situation to be in. Ill-advised. Now, next thing, I've got obviously the food intake. So I've got before and after. You'll see here my before calories were 3,308.7, I believe. Now they went down to 3,118.6. So I actually had a calorie deficit over that 3 days, on average, for each of those days, 190.1 calories, apparently. So I was actually eating less calories, guys, and I actually gained body fat. Go figure. Protein, as I said before, I kept that as consistent as I could. So it's about 5 grams more. That's just where I landed. You can't be too controlled, guys, but I was very honest with this. You'll see that I've been honest because I'm using the first decimal point to measure my food intake. So I was tracking very, very accurately. Carbohydrate intake went up about 132 grams. My previous diet included dairy, hence the 46.7 grams. It went up by 132.7 grams. So my carbohydrates, I don't know, trebled. So a lot more carbohydrates. Fat obviously went down because I was trying to match out that caloric amount. Yeah, so I was still eating quite high fat diet, so 162.2 grams. Now we look at the water intake, that actually was maintained at the same amount, which is quite interesting because I thought it'd be more thirsty. But no, my thirst was about the same. I'd imagine because a lot of the food I was eating, the fruit, so the fruit and honey that included was, trying to think now, it was apples, grapes and bananas, those 3 fruit, and honey was a raw organic honey for what it's worth. I think from Slovakia or Slovenia or something. I don't know, I just had it in the cupboard, so I just went with that. But yeah, the most of the dietary intake of carbohydrates I was having was from fruit. Next, we measured the strength. This is what I was quite keen to find out. My strength is quite a difficult term to define, but I used the same weight, tried to match the reps if I could, but I was more concerned about the time to tension or time to load. So I just matched the weight and just saw how long I could lift the weight for, basically. What I found was on the leg extension, my time to load went down by 15 seconds. So I was doing 90 seconds, it went down to 75. So that's a large drop, guys. That's like 20%. So my strength in the leg extension, if you're measuring it that way, went down. My strength in the leg curl went down by 10 seconds from 85 seconds to 75 seconds. And that's again with the same weight. So I matched the weight. So yeah, what I noticed, subjectively speaking, was I had more lactic acid when I was training. My heart rate seemed significantly elevated when I was training. And it was more painful. A few thoughts around that. My electrolytes were probably disturbed somewhat because obviously changed my diet overnight. This was purely experiment, guys. It's not something that I'm saying to people to do as a trial themselves. I want to do the experiment for you guys because you keep asking. It gives you an idea of what might happen if you do it. So if you were to do this for some reason, here's mine equals 1. Anyway, discussion. So overall, I was worse from both a physical and mental health standpoint. I felt like crap. From, I'd say, halfway to the end of day 1, my mood went down probably from, say, maybe a 8 out of 10 to like a 5 out of 10. And they kept going down as the days went on. My training performance also went down, as I've just mentioned. It was more expensive as well. I thought the diet was, I don't have the numbers, I don't have receipts and things because I was just using what I had in the house. And I bought some extra fruit for the days, basically. But I'd guess it's about 20% more expensive to include fruit in the diet versus not. That's with the assumed matched calories. Now, the negative implications, at least for myself, not ideal. I didn't enjoy it. I felt worse. My head hurts. I've got a headache from it still. So yeah, I honestly wouldn't recommend it, guys. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, if you're someone that has been switching up the diet a lot, maybe you might have more tolerance than me. You might have a different experience, but for me, it was not worth it. I'm glad I stopped after 3 days and not the 7 that I was previously trying to do. Now, others promote it online, but there are major conflicts of interest. Oftentimes, these people that are promoting, the fruit and honey are endorsed with different supplements, products. They have different affiliations, different, Amazon association or associate links. They're trying to sell you something in most cases. Or they're trying to appeal to the masses. They're trying to say, this is my idea. I'm going to try and get people in this lane. But, this is what I believe in. But if you can't do that, here's an option. I think you have to be quite on the mark with your beliefs when it comes to diet. Now, diet is almost a religion. Guys, it's bizarre, You got me talking about the carnivore diet, people talking about the vegan diet, paleo, keto. They're all restrictive in some ways. But what we're doing about the carnivore diet is people tend to go on it and stay on it. I meet very, 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 very few people that actually come off it completely. Very few. So that kind of tells me, anecdotally, for what it's worth, that it seems to be working. Now, there are some limitations to my study, of course. I have to include this in here because I'm trying to keep it somewhat scientific in it. So it was only 3 days of an N=1. So it's just me sampling, collecting my own data for analysis. So you're very limited there. It may not apply to you. But also saying that it won't even give indications to other people in the demographic. Some people, perhaps, if they were maybe less metabolically fit than I am, maybe less active, they might do the diet for 1 day and have horrendous results. So they might not even manage the 3 days. It can go either way, guys. It's just me giving my own experience. I didn't have any blood tests prior to or after the point. I did have a blood test maybe about a month or 2 ago, and that came back healthy or seemingly healthy. So for what it's worth, I entered this diet in a metabolically healthy position, so to speak. I had symptoms of reactive hypoglycemia after I was having the meals with fruit. So like I said, I was very sleepy. So that might tell me that my blood glucose was all over the shop. Again, not measured, but that's my opinion, what I thought would happen. Now, a large population group. So if you're going to look at this from a point of view that you're going to do this study again, get a large population group, try getting people on different diets with varying degrees of adherence, get them transition between fat and carbohydrate diets, vice versa, all sort of different permutations. That might be useful. Might be able to sort of show you, okay, you can do the carnivore diet if you're going to come off it. Maybe you don't do this. Maybe you do this. Give people some useful ideas. I find myself, I can come off the diet once or twice a month and just have a meal that might be somewhat clean or, clean, and not suffer too much ill effects. I will have some low grade of inflammation, which doesn't make me feel good. So I might have a bit of congestion, might have a bit of a headache, might not sleep as well. But for the most part, I tend to get over it pretty quickly. But yeah, it'd be useful, I think, to have that kind of information in the future. Now, to conclude, overall, this experiment increased my body fat, lowered my mental health state, lowered digestive health and quality of bowel movements. My exercise performance went down on both hamstring and quadricep focused movements. Now, the question is, do exogenous carbohydrates yield an improvement in resistance training performance? My answer for that was absolutely not. Not for me. My experience might be useful for other people in the community. It might deter them from following a species inappropriate diet, so it may serve as a warning. So hopefully it is useful to you guys. Now, of course, conflicts of interest. I do have a personal bias for the carnivore diet, purely based on logic. It seems like the logical approach to apply when trying to have any kind of dietary intervention. I have had experience with the carnivore diet and have had an overall benefit. So, I'm coming into it from a bias point anyway, so I have to mention that. I coach using predominantly an animal-based dietary approach, of course. Again, just because of my experience, it seems to be the closer someone gets to a carnivore diet, the better results are. Near enough in all standpoints. I do get a small monetization amount for YouTube to create these sort of videos. So I could have just created this whole video and experiment and bluffed it and just made it all up and done it for the sake of earning 50 British pennies up to 2 British pounds. So there is you can imagine what that's like, guys. I mean, I haven't made this video for £2, but I'm just mentioning it just for completeness. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hopefully that was useful to you guys. If you did like it, please click like, leave a comment below. Also subscribe if you have not yet already. Thank you very much.